Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of Words of Inspiration, where the present motivates the future. Today, the world is incredibly fast moving, and we find ourselves unable to cope up with it sometimes. And today, we're getting used to a new normal. This can all be extremely challenging. That is why we, as Words of Inspiration, brings close to you inspiring and motivating personalities to inspire and motivate you to become successful. Today, we have with us yet another interesting and very amazing personality. Let me introduce you to him. He is the head training and development at BeehiveCommunicationClub, Virudhunagar, Tamil Nadu, a post he has held for about 8 years, with specialization in the fields of effective communication, public speaking, grammar, spoken English, and he leads the team which trains the students of about 35 schools across Tamil Nadu on communication skills and other soft skills. He was previously employed at Infosys Limited as a SR systems engineer from 2008 to 2012. He has also trained corporate employees for 2 years, from the years 2010 to 2012, through CGI Toastmasters, Mangalore. He is also certified as ACG and ALB from the Toastmasters Club, Toastmasters International Club, California. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest holds a B.Tech in Information Technology from Shyamraj College of Engineering and Technology, Virudhunagar. He has received a MS Software Systems through Birla Institute of Technology, Pilani. He has trained many staff and students of various institutions, including faculty members of about 35 institutions on communication skills and other traits of personality development. He has even trained partially speech and hearing impaired students of Kalasalingam University on written communication skills. Our guest today has been a guest speaker at various educational institutions and fraternity of Toastmasters across Tamil Nadu on effective communication. Surprisingly, ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is also a person who has played the role of instructor in the Guinness World Records for the largest recycling lesson for over 17,000 students by conducting an educational session on recycling of waste for the whole gathering for 41 minutes. He has also played the role of instructor in the Guinness World Record for the largest vocabulary lesson for over 1,600 students, which lasted for over 45 minutes, and also played the role of instructor for the largest lesson on segregation of waste under India Book of Records. With records and Guinness World Records in his hands, he's also been acknowledged by Toastmasters International many times with many awards, becoming the district champion of humorous speech category in 2015, district champion table topics contest in 2017, district champion international speech contest in 2019, district champion evaluation contest 2019, district champion in the international speech contest 2020, which was held online. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. A. Shyamraj. Mr. Shyamraj, welcome to Words of Inspiration.
Thank you so much. I deem it as an honor. Thank you for the invitation. And I feel so happy seeing you all on the screen. I should thank Sajani for having given me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. Going through your amazing story, which is in this speaker profile that I just read out, I know that the first moment I read that profile, I was truly inspired and motivated by how much things that you have done for the society to actually motivate the youth already. And today here, yet you are again motivating the youth more and more. Sir, how did your own childhood, your youth, motivate you to become who you are today?
Okay. How did my own youth motivate me? That's the question. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Is my voice clear? Am I
Yes.
good with the bandwidth? Yeah. As you read out from the profile, Sajani, I belong to a place named Virudunagar. This is called the educational hub of Tamil Nadu because the place holds many academic records, like the highest pass percentage for 10th standard and 12th standard for over 25 years continuously. So people always accredited this place as an educational hub. But when you talk about communication skills, when you talk about public speaking, when you talk about language skills, we did not have such a good record. Not many speakers emerged from this place. Not many people into the language emerged from this place. Thereby, when I was very young, when I was placed in oratorical contests by my mother or people around, the appreciations that people gave me a very different flavor that I had not tasted ever before. People thought like this is very strange that somebody can speak here. It is very strange that somebody can handle the language here. So automatically and eventually the motivation was going high. So I felt I had the responsibility of representing my school or my college, which belonged to my town, wherever I went. And whether I won it or lost it, people thought I was somehow the one among the very few representatives that they had in line with communication skills. So that motivated me a lot. Every time I went up to the stage, I had people who were ready to cheer up for me. They did not have many options. Even if I lost a contest, they had to only send me again onto the stage. That brought in responsibility. And as you said, I got placed in Infosys, which is a software company. Though I went there, my mind was continuously following this track. I was only looking for options around communication skills. And the moment I spotted Toastmasters there, I thought the flashback was coming again in life. It was again pushing me into the line of communication skills and language. So I would say most of the times when I represented my town or my school or my college, the backing up by the people motivated me a lot. And having been lost many a time there, I knew that failure can be only this painful. It is not going to hurt you much. That was again a form of motivation, I would say. So coming into Toastmasters, if we were on the district stage and to fumble, that was still okay. The pain was not new. So these are ways in which I would say my motivation lay. Have I answered?
Yes, sir. Speaking of that communication and how you got into that communication style, and today you are a successful communicator and someone who motivates other people to enjoy and understand the value of communication. Speaking of which, sir, now you have you're a person who started off with information technology, and then you have done MS, and all of these are, I would say, mathematical, technological sides. But today you are a successful communicator as well. So how did your life begin to enter this communication, enter Toastmasters? How were you motivated to enter Toastmasters in your life?
Okay. I would say not just me, many of us of say my age, fortunately or unfortunately have been victims to this ignorance towards career guidance and career channeling, right? So maybe in our place, if you have a good academic record, you are good. If you can place yourself in a reputed institution, you are good. You should complete your engineering, get into a software company, move to Bangalore or move to Chennai. And I was no exception. And I should also take the blame on my part because I never told people, see, this is not what I like. I never told them, see, I want to be a speaker. I want to go in line with communication. I never told. In fact, I was also a fish along with the flow. I also felt, okay, now I'm 17 and I should get into a good college. Now I'm 22, I should get into a reputed company. And I went there. In fact, I did my MS after 1 year of my employment with Infosys. Even then, I never chose my track. And at this point, I would like to say, I know that there are Gaviliers here, there are Toastmasters here. It was Toastmasters which gave me that initial push to make a decision. It was at least when I was 23 or 24 years old when I really understood that I will do justice to the society, not as a software engineer. I can do that as a communicator. I can be a speaker and do some justice. To realize this, it took me 24 years. But knowing that I can go up to the stage and manage the situation, it happened when I was 6 years old. But that did not help me finalize my decision as a communicator. And then after completing my MS, after getting into Toastmasters, after understanding that this can give me a livelihood, I was able to make up the decision. And you know, there is always a painful story when you decide very late. If you have channelized everything when you are in your 16 years of age or 17 years of age, it's not a very sad story. But if you're going to decide it very late, you will have to answer many people. By the time I left Infosys and became a trainer, I was married and I had 2 families to answer now. I wanted to promise to them that I will somehow survive. I can lead a family. So that was a huge challenge. Yes, still accounting the blessings of people, it happened. So I should say my family and we together made this mistake of not choosing the right path initially, but then there was some amount of courage to take the decision, though it was late. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So there are many Gaviliers and Toastmasters and also students who are interested in joining communication and public speech and leadership as well. So I'd like to ask you, what is the main thing that Toastmasters International gives you for your life?
Purpose. It gives me a purpose. See, if I were to prepare a speech, if I were to go somewhere, say I believe I have a message to convey someone. I believe I can blend that message with my so-called skills. There is no other platform outside in this world other than Toastmasters which would give you this liberty. There are so many speakers in our fraternity who are not speakers. They are doctors, they are entrepreneurs, they are engineers, they are into many other fields. But everyone has got the urge to speak. Everyone has got something within the mind to tell this world. And if you are looking for a platform, like in a minute you can name so many fraternities, but if there is one fraternity where people would come, pay for a conference and sit in front of you just to enjoy you, that is Toastmasters. So that way it gives you the purpose of what you are, the purpose which says, yes, you are right in this track. Say, I'm a trainer. I will have to talk to so many students. I will have to give them a message, transform them to some level. I should know whether that works well with me or not. Toastmasters is the platform that accredits it. That is how I look at it.
Yes, sir. Not only are you a successful communicator, you are a district champion speaker in all 4 sections of the styles of speaking that Toastmasters gives, whether it's a table topic, whether it is an international speech. So we have an interesting question from one of the people in this forum today. And he's asking, sir, does being a good evaluator help you become a better speaker?
Okay. Theoretically and very genuinely, that is how it should have been. That is how it should have been. See, if you can evaluate someone so well, you should be able to speak well. But in my case, it was the reverse. In fact, I had won the humorous speech contest. I had won the table topics contest, and then I won the evaluation speech contest. I would say being a speaker first, understanding where I would fail, understanding where the audience would not get me, and where I can show my strengths, then I was able to evaluate people so well. But yes, Sajani, you cannot mix this many a time. See, there are people in our fraternity who are very powerful with the table topics, and they wouldn't try ISE. There are people who continuously stay very glorious with ISE. They wouldn't come for humorous speech contest. And expecting this common skills wouldn't be so fair from our end. You know, like this is like asking in cricket, if he's a good bowler, if he knows where to pitch the ball, if he knows how to check the skills of a batsman, would he be a good batsman too? So would he know that the bowler is going to bowl like this and can he be a good batsman? That is not the case every time. We have got some people as all-rounders, some as fine bowlers, some as fine batsmen. So these skills don't need to be interdependent. In my case, I should say, I first explored more of speaking. This experience in speaking gifted me this trick over evaluation. The opposite has also been true with many people. They evaluate well and then they become speakers. But my case was like this. I spoke and then evaluated. That helped me.
Yes, sir. Being an evaluator and a speaker, it's always interconnected, I believe, because the evaluation is what helps you become a better speaker. Because there's a saying that sometimes you don't know what you're doing wrong until someone tells you that it's wrong, because you don't see sometimes your own mistakes. I believe that evaluation is really important, and the message that you conveyed to whoever that asked the question, I believe they are very satisfied with the answer. And we have yet another question, and this is related to humorous speech. Many of us like to sound joyful and make people smile. What tips can you give us to make a better speech into a good speech into a better speech? And they are referring to humorous category.
Okay. See, people say when you go up to the stage, the more you try to be yourself, you will be successful. This is what people say. In fact, before you step on the stage, many people, like we have got Hingston here. I mean, he has motivated me in so many occasions before a contest. Like when they come talk to you and they say, come on, relax, be calm. Like this is what you need before you go to the stage. And this factor is largely required when it comes to humorous speech. A humorous speech cannot be more mechanical. It cannot be more prepared. At times you will have to be very light. You will have to be your own original form to just go there, feel the way you felt when you drafted that script. Say, for example, I have a good set of friends here. Most of the speeches, humorous speeches that I have presented are nothing but chunks that my friends had given. See, there was a place in one of my contests where I said my geography teacher was in the classroom and she was teaching us about Denmark, the country Denmark. And she says, children, Denmark is reported to have the happiest people in the world. This is what she said. There is a friend I have, he was sitting near me in the class. He said, that's right. Denmark is reported to have the happiest people in the world. But if that question comes as a 10-mark question, the Denmark question coming as a 10-mark question, we will become the saddest people in the world, he said. So maybe this was taken, this was framed or maybe fit into a speech, into a context in a speech and presented. Now I cannot be a different speaker on the stage and deliver this joke. I should be the same boy who was listening to my friend in the class. It is important that you put yourself in the situation where that incident actually happened. I think this is where we fail at times. We overdo the joke. We don't need any extra elements to a joke. A joke is a joke because it is like that. It is very natural. It has to be plain. And you just go there and make it up. So being yourself and feeling exactly how you felt when that incident happened in your real life is more important. Don't add flavors to joke. Don't treat it as an ISE. It's okay if it is not interconnected. It's okay if it does not have the right knots around. Just make it plain and give it a shot, I would say. And another thing, you cannot benchmark the jokes of another person. So for example, you have somebody who has cracked a joke. You cannot simply go and fetch that joke from that person. Your jokes will have to match your personality. It's very important. See, I am proclaimed to be a very fast speaker in the fraternity. They say, come on, you have to work on your pace. You are very fast. So I can draft jokes which will suit my speed. So if I'm looking at a speaker who is relatively slow, I enjoyed his joke. That does not mean that joke will work if I present it. So once again, your personality should match with your joke. You will have to be original when you deliver that joke. This is true. And the third important thing, maybe for humorous speakers, is it's definitely important, my dear friends, for you to believe and realize that people will laugh for your jokes. And this is the biggest doubt. People say, will people laugh at my jokes? I think I'm a very serious speaker. Will it work for me? Yes, it will work for you. Just think of your friend circle. Is there one friend who likes to be a friend, who likes to smile around with you, laugh around with you? Then you are a humorous speaker. You can make such a friend out of everybody in the audience. That's definitely possible.
Yes, I believe that message you conveyed is truly wonderful, that being yourself, because a lot of people forget the value of themselves and to love themselves and try to sometimes recreate something someone else did. And that in a sense doesn't come out as good as them doing it naturally. I
Great.
believe that was a great message, and I'm really very happy that came out of you, and it inspired me as well.
Glad.
Thank you very much. And moving on to the fact that you are a trainer in the field of communication, and you have trained students who are partially hearing impaired. I would like to ask you, sir, this is a great endeavor that you have done. And we as a community, we sometimes think them as disabled people. We put them out, but you have gone out and reached to them and helped them also get into this arena of communication. What can you say to motivate the youth today to help such people in need, to get them into this field of communication?
Okay. Before that, I would like to ask a question, Sajani.
Yes.
Am I speaking properly? I mean, am I playing the role of what you have assigned me correctly, or
Yes,
is it good to go this way?
Yeah, great.
Okay. I mean, I'm trying to understand if I'm being the right interviewee. Yeah. So this is fine.
Yes, it's great.
Okay. So you were asking me about the training that we had for the partially speech and hearing impaired patients. Yeah. What do we do to help the society and to help people who have this requirement? A very simple answer would be go meet them. That's it. Go meet them. You will start servicing them. You will start helping them. Most of the times we stay away from them, or maybe our populace keeps us away from the people who are with the requirements. They feel like you don't need to go there. You don't need to meet such people. I'll tell you how this happened. The Skalasalingam University is a place where we were doing some other training programs. And one of the professors told me that certain students are not attending that program. I asked him why. He said those students will not understand you in that class. I asked why, and he said those students cannot hear properly. They cannot speak properly. I asked then, how do you conduct your classes? They took me to a professor. I don't remember her name. I was taken to that professor, and that professor told me that she learned sign language for those students, and she has been conducting the classes using that sign language. She was highly inspiring. And I said, if my sessions are not going for those students, if it is not reaching those students, can I give it a try? Would you permit me? I asked. And then they said, you will be given one day. Maybe you can meet those students. What would you train them on? They wouldn't speak at any time in their life, they said. I said, okay, maybe I'll try if I can help them with their written communication skills. So initially I was so interested in doing that, but you should believe me. You know that you cannot speak in front of them. You know that you cannot speak in front of them. You can only gesture, and they will have to understand. But that was the day I lost my throat much. In fact, when you conduct 5 days of session, you lose your throat, you lose your voice. But there in one day, I lost my voice. I mean, the interest that those students offered, the involvement that they gave you, that they gave me, that was tremendous, that I felt I should definitely spend a lot of time with them, talk a lot with them. Whether they took it or not, whether they were able to receive it or not, I ensured that I was going to be loud enough for them. And in fact, that is where the first half an hour, they teach you sign language. They say this is A, B, C, D, E, F. You will have to learn all these things. So if you cannot show something, you will quickly show the spelling with all those symbols and let them understand. That was a beautiful experience. And you should know, like, getting into them, understanding their heart, understanding their level of understanding, that's tremendous. In fact, the biggest gift that I received was, once that session was over, there was a girl in that batch who gave me a report in which she had summarized everything that I had taught in that one day session. So I felt somebody has received it. Somebody has been able to understand what I said. So the main point here is, I just went and met them, and everything else happened naturally. So if you think you want to serve someone, you want to help someone, go look at the person in his place and in his time. You will know that you are required there. You will definitely offer all the support that you want. And as long as you look at things theoretically, you stay away and only hear of them, only listen to people talk about them, we will not get this gut feeling of stepping into the process and serving them. Get into the process, like go meet them. That is the point.
Yes, sir. I believe that the youth who are listening in will be motivated to step out of their comfort zone and go meet those people, because they are the people we as people who can communicate better than them are actually bound to helping those people get their voices out into this world. I believe so. Thank you so much for that motivation, sir. And speaking of communication, we always hear this phrase, an effective communicator. And most of us wonder, what is an effective communicator? We all talk, we joke around, maybe we converse. But what is this actual definition of being an effective communicator?
Okay. Do you remember, Sajani, this dialogue? I have a dream. Do you remember this?
Yes, Martin Luther King.
Wonderful. You too, Brutus. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Julius Caesar. Yeah.
Yes.
Julius Caesar, when he was stabbed,
Yes.
the statement goes, "You too, Brutus," in that language.
Yeah.
And stay hungry, stay foolish. Of Steve Jobs.
Yes, Steve Jobs. Yes.
This is effective communication. This is effective communication. Everything else that those people spoke or delivered is communication. How much of it can you remember? How much of it is said to you in the act of instilling it in your heart, into your brain? That is effective communication. Democracy, as defined by Abraham Lincoln, happens to be the government by the people, for the people, and of the people, they say. That is effective communication. When you add adornment around a statement, when you add some decoration around a statement to ensure that people don't forget it, that becomes effective communication. Now we are communicating. If you remember something that I spoke today, if you can remember this at least for a year or two, you say, "Shyam sir, when I met you a year ago, I remember you saying this phrase," then I have communicated effectively. And voice variation, body language, choice of words, movements on the stage, these are all elements that help you attain this effective communication. These are traits around. But finally, if the feel can be instilled in people, that's effective communication. How much of it can people remember in one line? This is it.
Yes, that's amazing, because just everybody can communicate, but we do not remember that whole passage or what they said. But as you said, Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I have a dream" still regains in all of our minds after we just hear that speech about his children, the love he had for his children, and what Abraham Lincoln said. Even today, it's in books. That is the definition that we give.
Yes.
So I believe the students who are listening in are very, very inspired and totally understand what this effective communication means. Because even I was wondering what truly this effective communication, this phrase that comes up all the time, what is the real meaning? And you enlightened me today. Thank you so much for that.
Happy.
And we have so many students who are going in out of their college to get new jobs, to work with people, to be newly employed. And they are asking, or one of these students are asking, what are the communication skills that we need to develop when we go to get a new job?
Okay. See, there, again, you can term it as effective communication. That is the prime requirement. You can take it that way. But you should understand, when a skill is expected of many people, not of a few chosen people, your job is easier, I would say. Your job is easier. In fact, there only clarity is required. I don't need to think of what you said for a long time. I don't need to remember what you said for a long time. But for the moment, have you conveyed it correctly? Say, for example, I mean, whenever I think of such a situation, I only get reminded of these statements. I had a professor of English who once wrote these 3 lines on the blackboard. He wrote, "Only I ate the cake. I only ate the cake. I ate only the cake." He asked us if we knew the differences between all these 3 sentences. And he said, if you know the difference between these 3 sentences, you are ready for a job, he said. I was so wonderstruck. And we were able to guess too. We understood that only I ate the cake means, okay, it was me and nobody else. Similarly, I ate only the cake means I did not touch the apple. I did not touch the mango. I only touched the cake. We did not know the meaning for the second statement. It was, I only ate the cake. Now I said, sir, that also means what the first statement meant, sir. That also means only me, no one else. And he said, no, that's wrong. Only is a word that adds stress to the word that comes immediately after it. So that way, only I means only you. Only the cake means only the cake, nothing else. But when you say only eat, I only eat, he said, I only ate the cake, I did not spill it down. I did not waste it. He said this and he asked us if we have this depth of understanding with every word and every sentence in English. He said, you don't need to frame such sentences, but when somebody talks with such sentences, will you be able to understand him with all the clarity? You are ready for a job. We think, like, in fact, the training for public speakers and the training for getting into a job both sound similar in our society. That is the problem. That's not required. When you think so much is expected of you, you have a natural tendency to fail. The expectation is very simple. Can you give something with clarity? Can you receive something with clarity? This would have very much been faced with visa interviews. Have you felt that? Like,
Yes.
like the people, they go with too much of anxiety. Oh my God, will I get rejected or will I get approved for my visa? Like, the more your doubt is, the more the probability of failing is. Do not overthink, do not overdo. Just ensure that that man understands you clearly. If that can happen, you are eligible to get into a job. So all through your journey, ensure that you gain clarity with your communication skills. It's okay to know only 60 to 100 words. That's fine. It's okay to have only 10 or 20 patterns of sentences. But when you make these patterns, when you use these words, don't fumble. Be very clear with those usages. You don't need to have a very affluent vocabulary to become an employee. That's not required. You have to be clear. Just have that as the goal. And then once you set up your passion towards communication skills, yes, these can follow. That comes out of interest. You cannot take the skill for a professional reason. In fact, you need to know, speaking skill is not like studying Newton's first law, second law, and third law. I can study them without interest. I mean, we learned every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I had no interest when I studied this, but it is still in my brain. But if I think I can gain the speaking skill without interest, it wouldn't work. I need the interest. Otherwise, I'm not going to step close. So do it to your interest. If something, when overdone, will not interest you, don't do it that much. Take it to the level that you can munch and swallow. You will be very successful, for sure.
Yes, sir. I believe that the students who are going in for jobs will actually think about this, because most of us, the first thing that we think is something can go wrong rather than we can do something to fix whatever happens. So twisting that mentality is really important, I believe, in society today. And I'm very, very honored that you actually brought that up during this discussion, because there are many people, even today, even the students, they think we can't do this could happen. We can't do it because this could happen. But the reality is you can do it, and it may happen. It could, correct. It cannot. So if we don't take the risk and we don't step out, we actually don't get a particular response from it. We don't achieve it. So moving on, speaking of all these challenges that you've had in your life, you have also taken part in Guinness World Records. Now, when we hear this word Guinness World Records, the thing that comes into our mind is that big, very large book that you get from the library and you read, and it has all the best things in this world, the biggest things that have been done. So how did you get to take part in this whole big, extravagant Guinness World Records?
Okay. It was the same factor. Like when you said, we think of Guinness Book of Records as big, large book, which we find in the library. You go fetch, you look into that with all the fascination. That in fact was the matter of inspiration for me too. Right from my young age, when I get to know that somebody is a Guinness World Record holder, I look at them with all the wonder. I look at them with a huge amazement. So we knew that it is going to be very big. And I should have mentioned this in my profile. The holder of the record that I played a part of is Virudhunagar Toastmasters. Virudhunagar Toastmasters, like we were all like-minded people. when I projected this humble idea of, can we try this? Will we do something good with this? People never told me that you are not capable of it. You cannot do it. No one said so. They said, okay, come on, we'll go give it a try. And the record was applied for. We received the guidelines, and it was stated that we had to present it in front of 17,000 odd students. To talk for 40 minutes for 17,000 to 17,000 students is a challenge, okay. But at least for that, you can sit, take some practice, train yourself. But where would we go for these 17,000 students? With whose call will all those students assemble? That was a huge challenge. Again, I would say Virudhunagar Toastmasters took all the steps. They ensured that all the schools in Virudhunagar were assembled in one place. We conducted this session on recycling of plastic, and that went on to be so well. Yes, in fact, the amazement that you have in your mind, the highness that you think of that factor pushed me a lot. And in fact, Virudhunagar Toastmasters gave me the opportunity of being the instructor, of being the speaker. Anybody could have been, but then they recommended my name. So I went up to that stage, and that was the first time I was able to see 17,000 people sitting around me as an audience. That was a wonderful view. You don't have, like, it is not a stage where you have people in front of you. It's a place where you have a stage and people are seated around you. Like it's everywhere around. And that was a very good experience.
Yes, sir. You mentioned that you spoke about plastic waste management. Now, waste management today, I believe there are news bulletins everywhere about environmental pollution and how to do waste management. And as a person who's interested in environmental conservation myself, I'm very honored and pleased to see someone actually motivating people and informing people about this plastic waste management. And there are, every single day we know that millions and millions of tons of plastic make their way into our oceans, and it's actually poisoning ourselves. And 1 in 3 fish we consume has microplastic. All of this data we see, but most of us don't read it. Most of us just ignore it, thinking that it's something simple. But in the future, we know that this is going to be something big. And just as you informed those students that day, can you please give the youth who are listening into this some advice to promote them to do this plastic waste management?
Okay. I think the world is into some other crisis now. Something else calls for an action. COVID-19 and the pandemic is more serious these days. However, I should say it was not completely my idea. The idea of choosing that as the topic was from Virudhunagar Toastmasters. There is a person named Toastmaster Rajavalli, and there are people named Revati, Sasidharmi, and many other Toastmasters. They have this passion. These are people who aim at zero garbage in places around. Even in Virudhunagar, they aim at zero garbage. So I was a tool, I was a weapon for them to speak on that day. So I was given points from everyone around and we presented. But what I can tell you is when I was given all these points, I was seriously shocked to know the data. Understanding that where the world would be in a few decades from now, if we are going to dump the waste like this, it was so crucial. And what we are facing now is nothing but a demo of what is going to happen. So today, something has locked the whole world. We never thought something can lock the whole world. I mean, a virus has locked it all together. And this maybe originated from one place and it has gone everywhere. But the plastic, the dumping of plastic, it's happening everywhere, which means it doesn't need an origination. It doesn't need an origin. It can easily happen everywhere. When people say the global warming has happened with just say 1 degree rise, 1.5 degree rise, we don't realize. But when you feel the heat, you get to know what that 1 degree or 1.5 degree really means. So getting into the data will give us more of clarity. The people, like I was not into zero garbage before that. I was not so disciplined with my waste management. But that day when I was given this role of an instructor, I and also the 17,000 members in the audience, we took up a pledge of ensuring that we will practice it to a good extent. And henceforth, many people started following it. And there is a system which is recording if plastic management is, waste management is happening effectively in Virudhunagar. In fact, the municipality, the government that governs this local body of Virudhunagar also took severe measures after that. And I think it has worked so well.
Yes, sir. There is yet another interesting question. Now, you mentioned that today the world is facing yet another crisis, and we have been locked down by a microscopic organism that no one expected to come out. And we are actually getting used to a new normal, which is sometimes could be wearing a mask, which could sometimes be having virtual lectures, and just the way you and I are conversing right now. The world today, the students, the younger generation are highly stressed because of this situation, because they are worried about what could happen and what is going to happen. And one of these students have asked a question to ask you. And the question is, as students, what can we do to release our stress in a time like this?
Plan for the future. Plan for the future. I do not remember who said this, but it was a great leader from a country. This man has quoted, if you get to know that you cannot live like how you lived all these days, that's when you bring about a new revolutionary idea, they say. In fact, we are in such a position. We know that life as it was all these days is not going to be in the days to come. So this is time for you to plan. The more you think of the past, the more you think of what is happening now, we are not going to inch close to any level of correction towards it. So maybe when you start thinking what has to be done so that such a situation does not prevail any forward. If you know what you can do in the future so that at least your area is not affected. In fact, there are many villages that I get to know about in Tamil Nadu where the youngsters have taken the stern decision of not permitting anybody into the village. They have completely isolated that village. They make a quarantine arrangement which the government has not. They make a clear boundary for their own village, and they are becoming role models everywhere. Some of the decisions of the government have been inspired by the youngsters around. So it's time that you plan for the future. You can be the maker of a revolutionary idea of the upcoming days. So time to invest your thoughts, your brain, and your ideologies on the future. You will never get bored of it, my dear.
Yes, sir. So today we are speaking very vastly on this topic of how to be motivated and how to be inspired. And we have with us an amazing guest who is giving us so much inspiration with such confidence, and even we are being truly inspired by what he says. And everyone, just remember that you have to plan for the future, because today is the day that you will have to start planning. Don't be stressed, don't worry, just keep going with your style and your strength, and definitely you need to plan for the future, as Mr. Shyamraj said. Now, moving on, Mr. Shyamraj, you have you have done you have taken part in 2 Guinness records, and you have become a successful communicator, an effective communicator. You've specialized in grammar and various communication styles. So we have an interesting question from one of our audience, who is from NIBM Gavel Club, and they have a question asking you, when a person is a successful communicator, how does that affect on that person's personality?
Okay. In fact, I think it is the reverse. Or maybe I should say they both go hand in hand. They say when people start working out, when people go to the gym, they go for some exercises, slowly the personality of the person changes. You know, when people say, when somebody is going to develop muscles, when he is going to have a good fitness over the body, he should be very boastful, they say. He should be very arrogant, they say. But that's not true. It doesn't happen. People who go to the gym become more humble. They become more noble. They become good with personality. See, it's not just communication, but the path that you go forward, you're going to meet people. This is an area where you cannot do anything without people. You have audience, you have mentors, you have advisors. The more you interact with people, your personality is definitely getting molded. There is a book, a very famous book, which says you are nothing but the average of the 5 people you meet and talk with every day. So you are talking to 5 people, you are an average of those 5 people for that day. So speaking and communicating is a forum where you are directly involved with people. You don't need to wait for opportunities to talk to people. You are doing that very naturally. So I would say it has a direct connection with your personality. I don't say you're copying the personality of another person, but that person is positively invading you. That person is positively copying and pasting his personality into you. So it's important that you talk to the right people, maybe with the right content. So that is definitely going to impact your personality. Even the choice of your words defines the personality that you possess. So the more you communicate, you become very good with your personality.
Yes, sir. Speaking of challenges and all of these things, there is one challenge that a lot of students are scared of. That is generally when we come in the society, when we walk out into the society, we see that there are certain stereotypes that are expected from the students. You should be this or you should become this. So this has actually bordered the students, or I would say barred the students from climbing over that wall and achieving their dreams. So what can we say to them? How would you motivate those children to come out of that to actually go and achieve their dreams?
Okay. This is not a case only with students, Ajani. You will fall into this trap at any age. Maybe at 30 years of age, there are people who push you with the stereotypes. There are people who want you to do what they think should be done by people of that age. It happens at every age. It happens even with a toddler. The point is, how confident are you in knowing that you can go the other way matters. There are many people who still think I should have been an artist. I should have been a doctor. I should have been this. But there would have been a moment for sure in everybody's life where they would have been given the choice to make. I mean, even beyond all the pressures that the society would have put forth over them. But were they confident enough to take that track? That matters. See, only to some extent can you think that the society or the people around you ought to be blamed. But after a point, there is only one person that you can blame for whatever has happened. That is the person who did not have the confidence to take that step, and that is you and me. Is that clear? So whatever you are into, or whatever you think or believe that you will be good at, you will have to think very much on that. You have to believe that so strongly. In fact, I would say it has to be more impactful in your mind than any other factor. So when that confidence is there, there is no barrier as such. When you know that you can prove to the world, you will directly plunge into the battlefield. Only when you have doubts, you don't do that. So it's absolutely in your hands to break the stereotype pressure from the external world. You can very much come out of it. Very much come out of it. It's all in your hands, I would say. It's an option that you have to make.
Yes, sir. And the other question is also linked to that past question that I asked now. People dream big, and sometimes we are given a lot of opportunities. For example, I might say, I recently got my driver's license, and there's something I noticed that when I drive a car to the parking lot and I notice only one parking slot, I somehow manage to park the vehicle there and go to the store. But when there are many, I sometimes pause, put my foot on the brake and try to think where I should park. So this is the same scenario that comes for opportunities in our life. Sometimes when we are given a lot of opportunities, we can't figure out which opportunity that we are going to take because we can't take all of them. What is your advice on figuring out which opportunity should we take into our lives?
Okay. So you mean to say there are so many opportunities coming in front of you, so many avenues that are opening, and you need to know
Yes.
how to choose which would be the best for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it like that? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say, in fact, you would get to know
Yes.
which of those avenues is the best for you by observing it at least for 2 minutes. Okay. Say, I would say like there is an opening in TEDx. There is an opening in the ISC contest. There is an opening in another speaking forum where you are called for speaking. Which opportunity do you choose? Yeah, this is it. Now,
Yes.
it depends. Like if in our club manual, in Toastmasters, they give you so many manuals. Humorously speaking, special occasion speeches. Which one would I choose? It depends on where you are. Is it not, Sajani? Say in a club, I would choose where I am weak. Say I'm not good in humorous speeches, so I would choose the humorously speaking manual here. But think of it in the TEDx stage. They give you one opportunity. I'm going to choose what I'm strong at. So the comparison largely depends on where you are and what you would get out of that place. So when talking about parking the car, when you say like you've got only one slot, depends on whether the place is crowded or not. Say you've got a parking lot where there is only one space and you don't find people around, there is no emergency, go practice it. That is the right time to practice it. Or maybe if it is at the peak time, if it is the time when the people are crowded, no risk taking. Do not take, you cannot take the time of others, so you avoid that option. So it largely depends on what you are and what you want to achieve. Choosing an area where you are strong, choosing an area where you are doubtful, both are required. But time and place matter a lot. On the contest stage, your strengths matter. In the practice stage, your weaknesses matter. Concentrate on them accordingly.
Yes, sir. For over the past 50 to 60 minutes, we've been conversing with our special guest, Mr. Shyamraj. And we've been getting so much motivation and inspiration from him, from his words that are truly inspiration to the youth today. And sir, as we are coming to the close of our program, we would like to ask you one very important question. What is one thing in your childhood that motivated you and inspired you truly? A small story that you can share with us, which can motivate the youth today.
Okay. I was in my 10th grade. Okay. I mean, take me of that age, not very young. I was in my 10th grade. We were seated in the veranda of my school when we were writing the examinations. I was writing my English exam, and I did not notice who was walking around here and there. To be very honest, I was not so good in any other subject. English was the only paper in which I had all the interest, and I was good at that. I was writing that examination. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder from nowhere. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder, and that did not sound like a normal hand. The hand was so giant-like. It was very heavy on my shoulder. I knew it was not my teacher's hand. So I quickly turned around and I saw my principal's face up close. It was my principal. He was standing there and I immediately stood up. Good morning, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Sorry, sir. I did all those things. He just pressed my shoulder and he made me sit. And he said, your handwriting is so good. You can aim for the gold medal in English. He said this. You can aim for the first mark in English, he said, when I was in my 10th grade. I have never interacted with him so closely because mine is a school where there are thousands of children, and talking to the principal is not a very frequent happening. So he said this and he left. And in 10th standard, I did not score so well. I did not get the mark that was required to be the gold medalist in 10th standard. I just kept on, but then this incident was in my mind. This man had been walking all the way through that aisle. He had been looking at all the papers. What made him look at my paper and say my handwriting is good? In fact, I was not writing in cursive those days. I was writing in scripts. All my letters stand separately. Only that I put them in right proportions. But my handwriting is not the finest in the school. There are many other children who did well. But very coincidentally, and I should say very consequentially, when I was in my 12th grade, I took the first mark in English in the 12th examinations. I was still poor in all the other subjects, but in English, I was able to get the first mark, and I still think that appreciation, that was not appreciation. That was a man who wanted to let me know what he felt. He just let me know what he felt of my paper. That helped me, and I think that did the magic. I was very confident whenever I had the English exam because I thought the principal himself has appreciated me for my handwriting. So that way I would say, if there can be a mark of motivation in anybody's life, it is that somebody has to tell you that he is watching you. He is happy watching you. He is ready to acknowledge you for something that you are good at. He is ready to tell you that he was happy looking at you perform. When this thing happens, we march miles with glory. This is what I would say.
Yes, Toastmaster Shyamraj. For the past hour, I believe, just as you said, some people inspire and motivate you. You have been a true inspiration and motivation to all of the youth, the Toastmasters, the Gaviliers, everyone who's listening in to us, who will watch this video and understand and be truly motivated to become successful individuals today. We extend our huge gratitude to our guest today who has joined us all the way from India, Tamil Nadu. Mr. Shyamraj, thank you very, very much for coming here and motivating us, telling us to plan for the future, giving us a good understanding about what effective communication is, and motivating all of us to achieve our dreams. Thank you very, very much, sir.
Thank you so much. I would also like to submit my gratitude to the people of Sri Lanka. In fact, I have always wanted to say this. District 82 has split apart as District 82 and District 120. In the days to come, what I would terribly miss is the people of Sri Lanka under District 82. I do not know how much of justice I've been able to make to this interview thing. I hope I have answered your question sensibly. If not, please do forgive me. But it was a very happy occasion. It was a very delightful thing interacting with you, Sajani. My sincere thanks to you and everybody in the club. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Your comments mean so much to us. We are truly honored and happy to have you with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our 4th episode of Words of Inspiration. Join us next week for yet another exciting episode to be truly motivated and inspired. I'm your host, Sajani Jayatma. Stay safe, stay inspired.